So, Aneesa, what is the Proverbs 31 woman?
The Proverbs 31 woman is a busy woman, but she's not a busybody. She's a businesswoman. She's a philanthropist. She is a merchant, wholesaler. She's just a really well-rounded woman, well-rounded, and she loves God.
Why do you think the way that most people describe her, talk about her, is like the perfect wife? Like, if you want to get married, you need to become the Proverbs 31 woman. What is that all about?
I don't. You know what? I think I think it has a lot to do with the church, which just don't get me started on the church. But I think it has a lot to do with the idea that women only had one role, right? Like you're only good if you're a wife. But we're so many things, and I even think the scripture that they used to just say that this is the perfect wife wasn't really, it didn't give insight to a perfect wife. So I don't know. Honestly, I can't answer why that was used, but I feel like the church has a lot to do with trying to put women in a box and having them, be well behaved and kind of quiet and sit off to the side, and which is very interesting to me because they do that to their wives, but then they talk about how capable and virtuous their moms were and how she did all these things. And so it's just so weird that we put moms in a group when they get older, but then wives have to be quiet and sit. It's just so weird. So I don't know why that was, but I think that I'm really excited to expand the identity of this woman because I feel like a lot of women are really trapped in not knowing who they are and not being able to use their God-given gifts to impact the world. So
So, you said don't get you started on the church. I
get me
definitely want to
started.
get you started. I want to get you started on the church because somebody's
Yes.
going to see
Yeah.
pretty and profitable. They might see Proverbs 31 and
Yeah.
instantly they're going to think Bible. Once I
Yeah.
think Bible, I'm going religious.
Right.
So what does that look like? How can you
Separated.
Yeah, how can you separate the two?
I think so. Let me just say this: my father is a pastor, and so my view and my experience in the church is way different from church members. I believe that the church primary focus should be putting like government systems out of business, like foster care systems and dealing with homelessness. Like we should be focused on impacting the world, not controlling members. And so the church for me has not, I think that they're off mission. And I think that they focus on unnecessary things and things that we call religion were just typically were things that God was just trying to put in place for us to preserve our life. You know, simple things like, not, don't be jealous, right? That's not a law. But when you're jealous, it's a lot of things that are attached to jealousy, but jealousy indicates to God that you don't believe that what he made you was enough, right? But we use that and we go, don't be jealous and don't have sex out of marriage. But when you look at, okay, not having sex out of marriage and what does that do to the family unit? And so it's just the religion aspect doesn't really give the why. It doesn't even give the how. It just tells you not to do something. And so that's been a problem for me. But I think taking the 22 powerful principles and moving it away from religion, but bringing it back to God's principles, I think any woman can relate. I spoke about this. I went to an international women's thing. I was invited by the consulate of Senegal, and I read this to them, and they were mostly Muslim, and they were like bawling. They were like, "Oh my God!" And so this is not a religious thing. I think religion has really killed the impact that they could have with people by trying to control people rather than it, kind of showing people the why and the how. And I think this book is the how.
I love that because I think a lot of people are starting to exit the
Absolutely.
traditional religion,
Absolutely.
traditional church,
Yeah.
because it's so restrictive.
As they should.
Religion causes so much separation.
Mhm.
It separates you, it restricts you, it gives you all of these rules and regulations with no explanation. It's just
No.
don't do it. So
Yeah.
I love that you're breaking it down.
Yeah.
And obviously we can get so much from the Bible without having to be tied to a church. So
Absolutely.
I love that you're still pulling out principles that we can still use.
Yeah.
So in terms of today's woman, so you said she's busy, she's not a busybody,
She's not.
she's about her business. That
Yes.
sounds like the modern day woman. So what can modern day women do to incorporate some of these Proverbs
Ooh,
principles,
let
or
me
what
tell
are
you,
some of those principles?
I feel like the modern day woman is missing these principles. I think they are solely focused on being ambitious, having and looking the part, but not being it. Like the scripture, well, before I go into the scripture, I think that just society tells us, they say fake it till you make it or whatever. And some people don't fake it till they make it. Some people do all the elements, but it's kind of like a to-do list. But they haven't really become that. They just did it, they have it, and then they're sitting there and they're lost. Like, I don't know why I feel like this. I don't know why. And so the modern day woman, I feel, is still deprived. I think she's deprived. And I meet women that are highly successful, what we say is successful, and they're clueless. Clueless. Like you'll ask them, what kind of man do you want? And the main thing is to get a man. Like that's the thing. But, Proverbs 31 woman, I talk about how all these things that we actually say is success is really just accessories. It's literally like putting on earrings. Like if I don't have a man, I'm still fine. If I don't put on earrings, I'm still cute. Right. But I feel like the modern day woman is solely focused on doing and having, but she has really lacked the identity. She does not know who she is. So I think the principles would be like pouring into that cup for her.
I think a big part of what I've heard you communicate about the Proverbs 31 woman is that she was not just sit down, be quiet, get in the kitchen, having babies. And my Bible skills are a little, but
Just
I know
listen.
that she's ownership, right? I know that she
Yes.
plants her seeds. I know that she has servants. She's delegated. I know that she's doing much more than just
She,
sitting down looking pretty, right?
yes.
So why is ownership so important? Pull out that concept of ownership from the Proverbs 31
I
woman. Let's
think
talk about it.
ownership, it is the element that helps you become, you know, let's say you don't become an entrepreneur. Being a mom, right? Birthing a child, right? Going through that process, it changes you, right? There's some sort of transformation that happens. And so, ownership, when it comes to, let's just talk about home first. Becoming a woman that is a mother changes your mind. It has you focused on protecting now. You have all these elements that you're focused on now. You have to be more organized. You have to manage things differently. Those same principles, those same things that we're learning to do and master as a mom are the same things that we do in business. Delegating tasks. Like we start to, hey, do those dishes, do this, do that. So I think the Proverbs 31 woman and the idea of ownership is really the steps that we have to take in becoming. I'm gonna tell you, I notice, and I people are not gonna like this. I don't think they're like this, but I can tell within 2 minutes a woman that has no children.
How? Do tell.
They are clueless.
They are not going to like that.
They're not. But they're clueless in the sense of there is an element that they have no idea about. And you can't be a woman that has no children and have that knowledge. It's something that literally changes you, and you can't even go back to that woman. You know, and so there's a level of selfishness, I believe, that's there with women that don't have children. Now, do I believe every woman needs to have children? No, I don't. I don't believe it's for every woman. So I'm not saying that she shouldn't have this level of selfishness. She can have that because she doesn't have anything else to worry about. But there is an understanding that comes, like for me, I think being a young mom created this overdrive that I have. I don't think I would have had it. I would have been like, girl, I would have been tired. But becoming a mom, it's like having, like that gear, that
Turbo
last gear,
gear.
whatever, right? You can't even experience that until you have something that is now depending on you.
You're,
So
I understand what you're
you
saying.
get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I think becoming the woman, it doesn't mean that you have to be a mother, but you have to have a purpose outside of yourself. Like Oprah doesn't have children, but she has created a huge impact, right? She could never really understand like going full term, and she can't, there's a level where that conversation will stop
Stops.
and she doesn't understand it. But she still created an impact outside of herself. And I would say that is still the Proverbs 31. She's not a consumer by no means. So you can't have like the ownership mindset and be a consumer.
Explain that for somebody
So
who's like, wait, what does that mean?
so like we can talk about it with credit. That's what I was saying. I started helping people like get their credit together, and I realized I was helping them to get back into a bad situation because they wanted credit to consume. When I really understood what credit was for and how the wealthy built their wealth, like even when I thought back to slavery, they built America on credit with slaves. Like they didn't pay nobody. They were like, we'll pay you later, you know? And so everything has been built, every form of wealth has been built on credit. And so you can't have a mindset that you're going to buy something that doesn't have a return and you're just going to pay minimum, the minimum payment, and you're going to be good. You literally have to think like an owner. You have to think, okay, where can I put this so that it can grow? And not, and again, this can be something that a mother did. That's what we do with our kids. Okay, where can I put my children? What is the best school that I can get my kids in so that they can have a good education? You're trying to multiply something in them, right? And so I think that being a mom, even before you do anything, is like a form of ownership and practice, becoming like an investor, but I want women to understand we already have that in us. Just move it, just move it over here. And I'm by no means am I saying that every woman should have a child to experience that, because I use Oprah as an example. But we should be women that think outside of ourselves. I think it's a waste of a woman to be selfish and just be about yourself. You just making money so you can buy a bag, and it's like,
So what should we do with our money, Aneesa, because I think that a large part of the conversation has been get the money, get the money, get the money,
yeah,
make the money, stack the money.
yeah.
How do you flip the
So
money?
the
How do you grow the
Proverbs,
money? How do you multiply the money?
but the Proverbs 31 woman, it says she goes and she inspects the field. So she's already on purpose. She's somewhere, she's like looking. She inspects the field, then she takes action, she buys it. And it says with her earnings. So she bought something that had equity.
Because she earned something.
She
when
earned
bought it.
something, right? So she didn't just buy something that had no return. It says she inspected the field. She bought the field, and with her earnings, she planted a vineyard. You can be a woman that's like, I'm going to get a vineyard for all my girls. We're going to have whatever, but you need to be creating space for more people in the world. And so that's what she did. She had purpose. Where am I going to do? What am I going to buy? What she bought had a return on her investment. We have to buy things that have a return. I'm not going to tell you the business I'm buying right now and that I'm looking at, but the very first question that I asked them was, what's the cash flow? Right? So one of the businesses, it's like they're selling it for $250,000, which you can't get a house in LA for that. So it makes sense for me to buy it. And then it cash flows about $6,000 to $7,000. It's a no-brainer. But I should be looking at opportunities. It's not just, oh, you doing what everyone else is doing. What can I do? Where can I put something so that it can multiply, where it can cash flow? And this particular business is impactful. It's like, it's helping people.
So I want to get into that really quick because I know you're all about this concept of like the boring businesses.
Yeah.
So
yes.
So what is a boring business, and why is this something we should be researching or getting?
Yeah, so I got this concept. I really like, my first mentor was Jewish. I said that before, but I really like listening to to white males when it comes to financial not everything, because everything that they say doesn't apply to me. But I got this concept of boring business, and I realized I was in a boring business. I have a nursing assistant school, and I've helped other people start their schools. And when I help them start, I always try to find 5 different additional streams from that one business, right? So a boring business in our business, of course, is the school, right? But then there's some requirements that we have with the state that we must do. And I realized I was sending the business out to other people. So one of the businesses that I was sending out was live scanning, which is like fingerprinting. Every student has to be fingerprinted. So I was like, why are we not providing this service? Being a live scan person, it's like literally maybe 3 steps to become that person or to have that service. We're already in a state regulated business, so it's already highly regulated and all that. Why am I not adding this to it? And so boring businesses are just things that are not really sexy, but they're profitable. And for a business, like if you already have a business and there's things that you're outsourcing, try to figure out how to bring that money in. And so I've started a couple of businesses where I was like, oh, we can bring that money in. And I was like, I don't want to do that business anymore. It's too much time. So it's not about doing every boring business, but really figuring out like what avenues that you can keep money into your business and keep money flowing. So boring businesses is, I think, is excellent.
We got to get out of the sexy businesses because the sexy businesses are not.
It's really not, but it's not even that sexy though.
They are not sexy, but on the gram, it looks real glitz and real glam.
Yeah,
but it is not. I think Airbnb is a great example too because it seems like Airbnb property. The owner. Yes, of course, please.
I feel like
this your show, girl. Say what
girl. I feel like a lot of the businesses that we've made sexy were businesses that other cultures did years ago that they're done with.
We're late to the party.
We're late
all the time.
But it's a lot of service based. It's still in service. It's nothing extremely scalable. I mean, people say buying more doesn't mean that it's scale. Like, I don't know. That's just my opinion. I feel like because I'm in other groups and other cultures and I see how they move and how they do things, when our people, it starts to be an overflow and it's just an open gate for us. I feel like that is a sign that there is something else that has
something's coming and we're late to that at this point.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I was going to say is that in Airbnb, the word on the street, on the internet was go out and get all these units. But what I learned is who was really making the money in Airbnb was the cleaning services.
Yes.
Which pretty boring business, but they're still in business.
Yes.
Versus these Airbnb owners that are having to sell and liquidate and foreclose
no one's
the thing. Nobody's talking about it. Yeah, nobody's mentioning it. They told you to go get all those units, but now they're not telling you.
They don't tell you how to liquidate
them. So I would love for you to share the lesson or the motivation behind the 22 powerful principles that anyone can use to build wealth. What is this book all about and what can we learn?
You know what? I'm going to just have to really shout out my mentor because I was going in a different direction. I was totally just focused on pretty on paper, which is really good. I felt like I was helping a lot of people. And I still believe that credit is the foundation to building a lot of things and really understanding it, not from a sense of consuming, but getting access to capital to invest. And so I just sat with him one day and he's like, I was telling him, I said, yeah, I was Proverbs 31. It has this. He's like, stop right there. And I was like, what? He's like, don't move from there. And I was like, okay. Like physically, and at the time I only had 12 principles. But I actually discovered them. I told you I was in Ohio. I was doing like an infield training with one of the mentors that does that in Ohio. And then I actually took a home inspection course because I was like, I need to know everything about this home. I want to learn everything. And I saw the scripture where it talks about the woman goes and inspects the home, all of that. And so I started going down the 12 principles And I was like, dang, this is like, no one's ever told me about this. Like, and I remember calling my mom. I'm like, Mom, and she's like, yeah, that's dope. And so I started with these 12 principles, and then I presented it to my mentor, and he basically was like, you got it. He was like, I can't even teach you this. Like, you know it already. Some people are acting like, using the Bible for this and that. He's like, but you got it. You have to stay with that. And so I started to just dive deeper, and it went from 12 to 22. And I started writing the book actually on Good Friday. I was in the hospital getting my tubes removed. They're not tied, they're out.
She said no more.
Yes. And so I was there and I started writing this book. And so it's just interesting. Like, you think that you have something, and then things keep happening and just keeps expanding, and it just keeps, getting bigger. And actually, during the time of me writing the book, me telling my mentor about it, I had lost a really big contract. And I was just like, like I couldn't breathe. I was like, oh my God. Right. And God was like, stop right there. Finish this. And I was thinking, if I had had the contract, I would have been too busy to really think about this. So this book is really like, it's a project of, me uncovering things that I already knew, things that I was already practicing. And it was in a time of like pain, or just a time of like really me just believing God to stop, pause, and finish the book. And so that's what you're going to be reading.
What are we going to walk away knowing or feeling or understanding once we get a copy?
I think it is definitely, now let me tell you this, my editor, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to say it. So I have an editor that is white, and I was struggling with that. I was struggling with giving my book over to a white woman to edit my book. And because in there I talk about how America has built their wealth on 400 years of credit. And she didn't touch it. She just left it where it was. But there's a lot of strong opinions that I have in the book, and a lot of things that were inspired by my mentor, of course, inspired, right? And I also, point him out. But I think this book is going to, what she said when she finished the book, because I had two women that it was an editor, and then it was a proofreader. Both of them were white. And I struggled with that. I really did. And I told them, you have to keep my voice. Like, you can't change my voice in this, in this book. And so what you're getting is, you're getting my voice, you're getting authentic situations and real situations. But when she handed the book back to me, she says, this book challenged me to excellence. A white woman, right? And so I did a call with her, and we did a Zoom, and she says, there was so many things in there that I didn't know that I could do. We talking about someone that has a 200-year, head start, right? And it challenged her to excellence. I was like, ooh. So I, told my assistant, I'm like, did you? She's like, that's huge. So I can only tell you what I did. And I don't think I'm a person that, what is it, like drink off your own Kool-Aid or something I don't know, but I can only tell you the feedback that I've gotten recently, which is, it challenged her to excellence. And
So we're going to need to be ready to work after we get this.
Yes.
Some people can read books and it's just like, oh, that was a good book. Let me put it back on the shelf.
I
feel like this
some
is going to
feelings.
be a book that is like, no, I got to do something. I cannot go into tomorrow the same way I came into today.
I don't
because of
think
this
so.
book.
But that's just me saying it. I do believe I will challenge some women. I may hurt some feelings. People may not like me. It's okay.
It'll be a
But
therapeutic read.
Yes, but it is definitely a download from God. Like, it was literally like, stop, finish. So I think identity will be a big chunk of what people are able to be more comfortable to find out, like, who am I, and go through the steps of discovering that.
Last question for you, Aneesa, because they're definitely going to grab a copy of the book,
Yes.
but I know that they're going to want to stay connected to you beyond the book. So do you have any resources or a community or anything that they could be a part of?
I do. I literally threw everything to the side. I said, we're going to make it simple this year. So we have a community called The Neighborhood. And I kind of got the concept from Mr. Rogers. It was really just one day I was like, I want the neighborhood. I want a community of women where they can park and they can find different places to learn about different things. But there's only three things that we actually cover, three frameworks, which is being pretty on paper, being profitable, and then provision. And so, pretty on paper, of course, we talk about credit, business credit. Being profitable, we talk about investing in cash flowing assets. Doesn't necessarily have to be real estate. It could be a boring business. It could be whatever they're good at, right? And we're not going to just have this large scale, but there will be a focus on cash flowing businesses. And then the third thing is provision. So, learning how to protect what you have built. So, trust, life insurance, all that kind of stuff. So the neighborhood is the way to reach or to get connected and the resource that we'll have for this year.
Well, Aneesa, I cannot wait to get my hands on a copy of the book. Congratulations in
Thank you
advance
so much.
for the impact that it is going to have, the lives that are going to change. We love you and we appreciate you and
I
we
love
need
you
it.
too. Yes.
Thank you for taking
Yes.
the judgment out of the biblical principles
Yes.
because we need that.
Thank you.